The FBI's investigation into the Trump campaign will now be taken over by a special prosecutor.
The move comes one day after reports surfaced. President Trump asked FBI Director James Comey to end the investigation into one of his senior advisors before firing him. The independent investigation is being praised by both sides of the aisle.
It's good that we now have a focal point of somebody that we all trust.
You have a body that is truly independent of any political consideration and also has all the resources it needs and a single focus on the oversight of what Russia did.
So former FBI Director Robert Mueller has been appointed to the special post. President Trump has long been against a special prosecutor. Today he said, as I have stated many times, a thorough investigation will confirm what we already know. There was no collusion between my campaign and any foreign entity. Robert Mueller, the man who's been tapped to lead the investigation, is receiving broad bipartisan support tonight. He's a decorated Marine Corps veteran who served in Vietnam. He was also a U.S. attorney and assistant to the Attorney General before becoming FBI director in 2001, 1 week before September 11th. He stayed in that position for 12 years, the second longest tenure of any FBI director, before handing the reins over to James Comey in 2013. Matt Lorich has more from a busy day in Washington, D.C.
No politician in history, and I say this with great surety, has been treated worse or more unfairly.
In the spotlight in Connecticut, President Trump took a swipe at the media. Back in Washington, his actions are under the microscope.
I think it's reaching the point where it's of Watergate size and scale.
And some critics say the latest accusations should come with Watergate-sized consequences.
I rise today, Mr. Speaker, to call for the impeachment of the President of the United States of America.
According to sources, a memo written by former FBI Director James Comey states the president asked him to let go of the investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's possible ties to Russia. The White House says the account is not accurate. Congressional oversight committees and members of both parties are now asking you to see Comey's notes on the Oval Office encounter. Republican Congressman Dave Reichert saying it's created serious concerns, adding we must be given all of the facts in order to understand exactly what occurred and get the answers we need.
There's clearly a lot of politics being played. Our job is to get the facts and to be sober about doing that.
I think we follow the evidence, we obtain the evidence, we hear the testimony.
All this as the White House also tries to contain reports about the president sharing ISIS-related classified information with Russian officials.
What the president discussed with the foreign minister was wholly appropriate to that conversation.
Matt Lorich, Q13 News.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Thanks very much for tuning in. Okay, so I'm redoing this video because I tend to ramble, and I want to keep it more concise. I just want to point out that the person who is named to be in charge of the Trump-Russia investigation is former FBI Director Robert Mueller. And this guy became the head of the FBI a week before September 11th happened. And he stayed the head of the FBI until about 4 or 5 months after the Boston Marathon bombing happened. So I thought you might want to understand why Jeff Sessions chose this guy to be the special counsel investigator of the Trump-Russia connection. Because that's pretty much all you need to know, right? He became the head of the FBI a week before September 11th, and he stayed the head of the FBI until 4 or 5 months after the Boston Marathon bombing. Right? Do you need to know more than that? I don't need to know more than that. I mean, that's pretty clear as to who this guy is, what his history is, how safe he kept America, and that he's a big-time insider who is never going to let somebody, who is never going to actually, who doesn't believe in truth. I fucking hate liars. You know, that's my big problem with Trump, is he's just a liar. He just makes shit up, and he just makes shit up right in that moment. Whatever it is sounds good to him. Whatever it is he thinks you want to hear, whatever he thinks it is going to make him look good and get him out of trouble, he'll just make that shit up right off the top of his head. And I don't think he has any control of it. I've been around pathological liars. I've seen them. They lie about absolutely nothing for absolutely no good reason. They just lie. It's just who they are. And it's bad. It poisons everything around them. You know, that's the reason that he wants to cancel the daily White House daily briefing, which he says is getting amazing ratings in the news. The White House daily briefing is beating everything on daytime television, according to Trump, in the ratings on television. And which means that there's an overwhelming interest, public interest in these White House daily briefings, and he wants to cancel it. He wants to just say, no, we're not going to do those anymore. Because he can't keep his story straight from one day to the next. So the people that are supposed to be trying to explain what's happening are like, I don't know what's happening. Or they say what he said to tell them, and then the next day it's a different thing is happening. But I digress. I just wanted to point out why Robert Mueller, I thought this was really important information about Robert Mueller's resume that might not be made clear by the mainstream media, and that you guys should know. Okay? So, I'm not getting any tips. No one's putting anything in my bowl. Day after day, I go to my email. Nope, no tips today. Nope, no tips today. Nope, no tips today. What the fuck, people? Is there no value in what it is that I do? Do you see absolutely no value? You see what I do on every other YouTube page? Come on, you guys. I need your help to be able to continue to do this. It's time for another hard drive. I have to buy at least one hard drive per month in order to keep all these videos. Video takes a lot of space. It's only 2 terabytes, like $90. But it's got to happen every month. I need your help. And day after day, I'm coming out here. I'm working 6, 7, 8, 12 hours. No tips. How can that be? Do you guys not do you just think there's nothing of value here? You think it's meaningless what I do? Do you know why people come to Mox News? People come here seeking knowledge about their world. They don't come to Mox News looking for girls with giant boobs jumping rope or some moron doing a faceplant video. They come here seeking knowledge. Like the fact that the guy that's been appointed to take over the investigation of Russia-Trump connection, you know, became FBI director a week before September 11th and stayed FBI director until a few months after the Boston Marathon bombing. I don't know, you know, if they're telling you that on every YouTube page. I don't know. Did you find a whole lot of Belt and Road information on other YouTube pages? Are you seeing the people on other YouTube pages talking about how South Korea wants to get rid of the U.S. missile defense system that was installed by the Pentagon at a cost of $1 billion, which Trump insisted both Japan and South Korea would be paying for, and South Korea and Japan said, no, we're not. Fuck you. Fuck the American taxpayer. You guys can pay for it. You want your missiles here? You pay for it. What? And Trump just doesn't say anything. Okay, like I said, you know, I don't like the guy because he's full of shit. But I digress. Again, I just came out here to tell you about that. If you want to help out, if you want to help Mox News help people find knowledge about their world and about their place in that world, that's what you do by making a donation or giving me a tip at moxnews.com. Okay? It's easy to do. It should take you about 2 minutes. Please. I need help in order to continue doing this. And if you don't see the value, you know, that's okay. Because I know others do. And I need you guys to help. Okay? So, thanks for tuning in. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Stay cool. One of these days, this war is going to end. Till that day.
Compassion stirred the Buddha to send his monks out into the community. Sworn to chastity and poverty, they wandered the roads, bringing the Buddha's teachings into the world. Go forth, monks, for the happiness of the many, out of compassion for the world. There are beings whose eyes have little dust on them, who will perish if they do not hear the teaching. But if they hear the teaching, they will gain liberation.
The monks exist by begging. We think of begging as kind of a bad thing. Begging in this tradition is a good thing. It's a sign of spiritual purity.
You're not allowed to beg tomorrow's lunch today. Only today's lunch. Then you can't eat from noon until dawn the next day. Then you have to go out and get another lunch. And then in exchange for lunch, you give a lecture. Unless they say we don't want to hear about it, then you don't. But that's the only thing but that forces you to interact with the lay community.
And if you're not serving them, if you're not doing something useful for them, they won't put anything in your bowl, and that will be the end of your community.